Stretching your lats is a relatively easy thing to do if you've got something like a pull-up bar. But if you don't, then trying to find some way of stretching them effectively is a bit more difficult. If you live in a house where you've got a flight of stairs and there's open risers at the back, you can more or less use the treads of the stairs as a pull-up bar. For this instance, you probably couldn't do pull-ups on it because you'd bang your head off the next step, but you can use it for this because essentially all you're trying to do is hang from your fingers and stretch through your lats. Now this is important because tight lats can cause untold problems. It can cause pain in the shoulders, it can cause poor posture, and it can cause an inability to be able to do exercises properly, particularly pushing and pulling motions, because there's too much tension in there and it doesn't give you the motion to be able to do what you want to do. Also, if it comes to things like Olympic lifts, then being able to bring your arms up into a sort of clean position and get the full flexibility, if you get tension under here, it's not going to happen. So it's incredibly important to try and work on mobility in the lats. Now, if you've got a pull-up bar, as I say, all you have to do is hang from it to some degree. There's a little more to it than that. If you just hang there and you use the tension in your arms, all it's going to do is you get sore wrists and sore fingers, and your grip strength will go and you'll fall off eventually. And it might help build up your grip strength, but it's not going to help stretch your lats particularly. The main thing you need to do is try and let your shoulder stretch out and let your lats stretch, so dipping your chin and allowing your whole body to elongate through, all the way through, to try and let the weight drape down. If you can't hold it for very long, then ideally you want a bar that's set in a position where your feet can touch the floor. That way you can lift them off if you can, but if you can't hold that for very long, just have your toes on the floor, sink your knees down, and try and release as much pressure off and take it into your arms and your lats and your upper body as much as you can. And over time you might be able to build up to be able to lift your feet off the floor. If you don't have any of that, if you've just got a door frame, you should be able to maybe hang from the door frame if it's fitted properly. If it's something that's just going to rip off your door, then obviously don't do it. But if it looks pretty solid, you can just get your fingers over. Again, you probably won't be able to just hang from it because, well, for two reasons. One, because trying to be able to hang from your fingertips is an awful lot harder. And secondly, depending on your height, then there might not be enough room unless you're lifting your feet up at the back, and then you're creating an awkward position that might be very difficult for you to get into that stretch position. But essentially anything that's above you and allows you to stretch is fine. But this exercise, the one we're going to look at today, involves a resistance band. And the reason for that is because it allows you to sort of sink into the stretch a little bit easier. You can get yourself in a stretch position and then you can allow the band to take over and stretch you further than you thought you could. And you can do it fairly safely because the band's not just going to pull at you suddenly out of nowhere. So I've got two pieces of equipment here. I've got a resistance band and I've got this, which is basically a bit of Christmas ribbon tied in a knot. Now I did a separate video for this on our Facebook page, Dynamic Core Studios on Facebook. You can go and check that out there. I may post it here at some point. But really all this is something that fits quite easily through the top of a door and allows you a loop to be able to tie something through. In that video I was showing exercises where you can use a towel for lots of different strengthening exercises. In this case it's the same thing. I'm using the opposite side of the door to the way that it opens, so that you're pulling the door shut as you pull it effectively, and then hooking the band through it, because if you hook the band straight through the door and then try and wedge it shut, you're probably going to start cutting the band with the door and then you're just going to get a snapped band, so we don't want that. But the other way that I've demonstrated, and the first way that I'm going to show on this, is using the door handles that we have in here. I just happen to have a couple of door handles, circular ones, that I can loop the band around and pull on, and it's because it's sharing the load across two door handles that are pretty well fitted, then it's got the strength to be able to hold me. It's not taking my whole body weight, it's just something that I can then get down onto the floor and lean back from. It's much harder to get the angle in that one though, but it takes a lot less setting up. You just need a door handle, hook the band around it, and off you go. But you have to get down into a position where you can feel the stretch right up the way through your lats. Whereas when it's in a higher position, then all you have to do is lunge back, take the same leg back that of which arm is forward, so that you can really open up through that side and let it pull you and stretch you through your lats. And that's all you're trying to do. You push back into it, push your hips back so that you can create a stretch, and then you should feel the band starting to pull away from you. If the band's at almost full stretch, then all you're trying to do is, in your head, try and release the tension on the band and let it pull away from you up and through your lats, and you should really feel an incredibly good stretch in that position if you've got a reasonably strong band and you've got enough distance away from the door. So have a look at the two options and see if one of them can work for you. So you can see in the first option you need an awful lot of space because you need a lot of more distance to get away from the door in order to get full stretch on the band, and you've got to be able to get yourself down onto the floor and sort of angle yourself out. It's not easy, and it's not a comfortable position to get into and try and find exactly the right point to be able to stretch. But if it's all you've got, then it's not that difficult a thing to do, and if you've got the space to do it horizontally, then great. If not, then as I say, some kind of attachment that you can put into the top of a door, or you can hang it, if you open the door up and you hang it off the back end of it, you can just loop it around the back corner of the door and pull. Again, you're on a corner, so you get a chance of cutting there, but if you keep it very still, then it should be okay. But you just have to remember that you can't pull too far in one direction or the other, it will just slip off. And you don't really want that in the middle of this either. The one last thing to note on this is, as you're coming out of the motion, do it slowly. Don't just ping yourself straight back out of it again, because you don't want the muscle going from fully stretched to contracted and just pinging back into position. Take it out slowly and take it back in slowly. And you should feel when you come back up from it, the mobility in your shoulders and your back is so much better. It might only last for a little amount of time, but if you do this regularly, you should feel a big improvement over the coming weeks and months. So give it a shot, see how you got on, and if you've got any problems, any questions about it, come back to me and we'll see what we can do.